Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Retire Wealthy. Today, I'm really pleased to have Chris Leader with me. Chris is the founder and CEO of Leaders Edge Training, an amazing real estate training program for real estate agents. We'll talk about a little bit more about that at the end of the show, but I asked Chris to come on and talk about the state of the economy. We're in such an interesting economy right now, aren't we? And everybody's second guessing so many things, no matter whether you're a real estate investor or in the stock market or just trying to make ends meet. What is going on with this economy? So I don't know anybody that has their finger on the pulse more than Chris Leader. I call him a lot. He's a very good friend and confidant, but I call him when sometimes I'm wondering myself what's going on with the economy. So I asked Chris to come on the show today and talk about what he sees in the next 6 to 12 months with this economy, where everything's going, and maybe what the Fed's next move will be. So, Chris, what do you think? Where are we at?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a privilege to be here with you, Craig, as always. Um, the economy, the US economy is doing really well. And that sounds great on the surface, but it brings some other challenges with it. Your unemployment rate or the unemployment rate in the US is really low. I think the last time I checked, it was like 3.1 or 3.3%. And so, pretty much anybody who wants a job has one, may not have the job they want, but they have a job. Second thing is there's lots of manufacturing now, repatriating back from outside countries. They're coming back to the US. And if they're not coming back to the US, they're developing new manufacturing facilities in the US, which is great. It's great from an employment perspective. One of the challenges we're going to have is with the amount of increase in manufacturing and the amount of energy that's required to run AI and a lot of the digital data mining that goes on, we don't have an infrastructure to be able to handle the need from a utility perspective. So we have a shortage of utilities. That's going to be an issue that could stunt some growth. But setting that aside, because I know I'm getting in the weeds a little bit, the economy is doing so well. As of last week, the Federal Reserve didn't lower interest rates. They kind of held them with the intention that, and mortgage rates even went up just a little bit because of that. Now, the plan was to reduce rates. The plan was to bring those rates down. I checked this week and they're around 7%, Craig, just a little bit hair over 7%. But the problem is the inflation rate went up. It didn't go down.
Right.
And now inflation is a result of a really busy economy. What's happening is demand is starting to outstrip supply. And when that happens, the price of goods and services start to go up because there's less of it. That means people ask more for it, and we end up paying more for it. And that can be in labor, because we have a shortage of labor. So, there are a lot of contractors, for instance, who are so busy they don't have time to change their mind. So if you want to hire them now to do some renovations, they don't have capacity or bandwidth. So when they bid the contract, and I'm giving you a very simple example, they bid the contract really high because the idea is I don't have the ability to do the work. And if I got it at this price, somehow, some way, we would figure it out, but you'd have to pay me a premium. So when you think about that very simple example and you apply it to all kinds of different industries across the nation, you've got a situation where demand is outstripping supply. The inflation rate is going up, and the only control that the central bank or the US Federal Reserve has is to raise interest rates. In doing so, making it less attractive and slowing things down, slowing the demand down. So the supply starts to balance again, so we don't have prices going up. I would arguably say that there's a labor shortage in the US, and in the process, you're seeing wages rise. I mean, we hear these little stories like the one you had in California recently, where they're paying $20 an hour for McDonald's workers. And of course, people in other parts of the country are like, what is going on over in California? Well, it's a supply and demand issue. They don't have the workforce. So instead of interest rates coming down like they had anticipated, there's a good chance we could see interest rates by the end of 2024 at 8%.
Wow.
And we've had this conversation before, you and I, months ago, where I first read about this. Everybody's hoping in real estate, for instance, because that's my background, that interest rates head below 5% and go the other direction, making it easier for people to acquire more real estate. But now what the problem with the Fed as they raise their interest rates is that they need to do it in small increments, because if they go too quickly, what they'll do is not slow the economy down to that soft landing that everybody's been asking for, but they'll literally push it across a threshold into a market that goes into recession. So if that happens, and it's really kind of like they're trying to use a big hammer to do fine carpentry work. So it's not like they've got a surgical tool here. So if they push it too far, they actually push us into a recession. And we would be in a market that's in recession for 4 to 6 months as we crawl back out of that again. So where are we at? We're on a tipping point right now. And if they raise interest rates a little bit more, maybe that'll be enough. But at a certain point, it could be too much and put us into a recession. So if you're asking me, is there a recession coming? I don't know that. What I do know is that the market goes through cycles. And when you have a really good economy, what typically follows that is a bad economy. And then what happens after a bad economy is the economy gets good, then it turns great, then it goes bad again. And we go through these cycles where the government is constantly trying to balance the economy out. And it's not an easy job for the feds. But so what are we up against? I think we're looking at 7+ for the rest of this year on mortgage rates for people. And we could be closing in on 8 if this economy, I mean, every month, Craig, you guys are beating the job numbers that you anticipated, and you're hiring more and more and more people. I know that there's a big immigration issue on the south border, but at the same time, I wonder how many of those people will make a positive contribution to the overall economic force of the country. And I'm starting to step into a political conversation, and that's not really where I want to go. But I do think that there's a real need for labor in the U.S. and a labor force. So that's sort of my take on that.
And thank you. Interesting what you said. A couple of things that you said I wrote down here. 8% and recession. And I don't know if you know, but that's about a week or two ago. Though that's exactly what Jamie Dimon, CEO of Chase, came out and said, and it really sort of sent some shockwaves through the market. And I don't doubt that. It's interesting when you think about we're having such a good economy, we might go into a recession. Almost seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Well, but there's cycles. And people always think that the market is and it will stay this way. And it's not. It's constantly revolving and evolving. So, if you're having a great economy, at some point you're going to have a bad economy. So what I would tell everybody from a business perspective is if you're having a great economy and you're making lots of money, one of the things I've learned as an old business guy now is you got to squirrel your money away for the patches that it's not so good. So from a business perspective, you've got to build that nest egg up, feather your nest to be able to insulate you from the challenges that are inevitably going to come in the economy. And it's a cycle. So, there's no reason for anybody who's listening to participate in a recession. You participate because you positioned yourself from an exposure perspective. What I'm going to say to you is when the market's really great, whatever business you're in, you want to feather your nest and build your nest egg, because some of the best opportunities are when you can buy on the dip. And you have to have the cash to be able to buy on the dip, not only take advantage of the next good market, whatever business you're in, but at the same time to double down on that return because you bought a really great, it could be a stock, a company, a business, a piece of real estate. You bought it at a time when they were vulnerable and they were willing to dump. You're going to really make a lot of money on that. So buy on the dip, but to do that, you got to have your money saved up.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you so much for taking some time out of your very busy day. I really appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening that are real estate agents, if you find yourself struggling at all in your business or you just want to take it to the next level, I'll tell you this. I've been a successful real estate agent for 30 years. About 15 years ago, my manager came to me and said, I met this guy, Chris Leader. His program is fantastic. I want you to take his class. I said, I know more about real estate than anybody. I'm not going to learn anything from him. By the time I walked out to my car, it's a true story, my phone dinged. She signed me up for your class, and I took it. And I will tell you this, I doubled my sales that year, doubled my sales. So thank you, Chris. And anybody that's looking for an edge in their real estate business, call Chris Leader. If you like this program, please like our channel and share it. And if you want to talk to Chris, hit the QR code down below. Thank you all very much. Chris, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Greg.